what, let me just give you a little bit of history as to how I wound up where I'm at. Okay, I've been in Harney County since 1978. I've been helping people ever since I got there, with the fire department, the ambulance, search and rescue, and just driving down the road and you see somebody needs help, you stop and help them. Neighbors, friends, family, whatever. I've been very, very involved in my community and in my county. I heard about the Bundy thing down there in Nevada, and I thought, wow, that's weird. That's in Nevada, you know. So it didn't mean a whole lot. You know, it's like, well, that's in Nevada. Well, they got stuff going on down there.
Somebody else's state.
Yeah, that's out there. It's not in here, you know. And I heard people say, yeah, the Constitution, and when I was in school, they taught the Constitution. And I got good grades. So I passed the tests and then go chase girls and play baseball, because that's what I like to do. Well, I can still chase girls in baseball, but I forgot the Constitution. And that's what has happened in this country. The education of the Constitution has not stuck, and they've removed the constitutional training from our schools. So we don't know. We didn't know that the federal government was overstepping their bounds. So we're just thinking, well, a bunch of jerks. God, how can they do that, you know? Well, they do. Didn't know about an authority, who had the authority to do this, that, or whatever. They were going to have a meeting at the fairgrounds. And the Hammonds had been sent back to prison again, the second time. I guess everybody pretty much knows the Hammond story, you know. That started out a long time back, and it started out with water rights. And with rights, you know, you understand how the rights work. You have to claim them, you have to use them, and you have to defend them. A lot of these things I just didn't understand. Well, I hear that Ammon Bundy is coming to talk, and I heard that the Hammond's attorneys had told them that they probably shouldn't talk to the Bundys, because the federal prosecutor said if you talk to Ammon Bundy and his bunch, it's going to get a lot worse for you. It's going to get lots worse. You're going to go to a less than desirable prison. You're going to leave earlier than you were supposed to leave to go back for your second tenure, you know, or second sentencing. You know, they went for 6 months and a year or whatever, and then all of a sudden they had to go back to their mandatory minimum. Heard that the Hammonds would not speak with the Bundys anymore because they were afraid. They said, God, you know, this has been enough. We paid $400,000 fines, ungodly amounts of money on legal fees. We've been to prison. We came back out. Now they're throwing us back in prison, and they say if we talk to Bundy, they're going to make it a lot worse for us. So we're not going to talk. We're just going to pay our dues, do our time. Ammon Bundy, he didn't like that whole idea. You know, he saw something happening in this state that has been happening every place else. And to him, boundaries aren't there. Brotherhoods are there. He likes ranchers. He knows what it was like for them to get screwed over. And so he's going to talk to us. He's still going to come and try to do what he can for the Hammonds, even though the Hammonds can't really officially deal with it. So I'm thinking, what the hell is this all about? I'm going to go to this meeting. So I went out to the fairgrounds, and there was about 70 people out there. I wish there'd have been 2,000. It would have been so much better if everybody would have came to the meeting. Because the people that went to the meeting could see those guys, you know, and look at them, shake their hands, look them in the eye, listen to them, and then make up your own dang mind what kind of people they were. Is it some kind of a raving idiot or what? They're not. Ammon's a phenomenal man. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to meet him. If you've had a chance just to watch him very much on TV, or on YouTube or whatever. He's an incredible man. Very, very intelligent. Very, very, very committed to his religion. Very committed to helping people out with this federal overreach thing. And he realized that things need to be changed or it's going to get way worse on everybody. So he starts out and he talks to us about the Constitution. He gives us some great history about how the founding fathers wrote the Constitution so they didn't have to deal with the tyranny. They didn't have to deal with the British taking everything. They had tried several documents before the Constitution actually fit in, you know, and started working. They tried things that didn't work. And they did the Constitution. And I can't get the specifics perfect, but there were a bunch of judges that were working for Great Britain, basically, and they were not treating the people fairly, and so they decided, you know what, let's have a committee of safety. By God, it's in the Constitution, in the Magna Carta, that we can govern our own government. You know, there's some provisions to keep our government in control. And it's about time we do that. So they got a couple 3,000 people together and had this big old meeting, and they elected some members, and they delegated some members and stuff like that, and then they went to these judges and they said, you guys are acting out of order, and you will quit. You will stop. Well, the judges all fled to this one particular building. They went and surrounded the building. They sent the representative in and said, now, you're done. And this is going to be your penalty. They made those guys read that they would never, ever be a judge again, and they would never, ever run for an office again. They made them parade up and down the streets reading their sentence. And that was a committee of safety. And they said, you guys are done. Go away. We won't like you. And so that's what happened. And I'm sitting there and thinking, wow, that's pretty cool, you know. And I'm sure I don't have all the specifics perfect on that, but the intent, you understand what the story is. They talked about a committee of safety has the power to ask for a redress of grievances, to show the government, hey, we don't like what you're doing. You need to evaluate that. You need to figure out what's going on. You need to correct that. And if you don't, then there's a push to shove thing. They can actually legally call in the militia and say, enforce what we just said. Well, I'm sitting out there in the crowd, and I'm thinking, what? You just said the Committee of Safety has the power to call in the militia and start a revolution or whatever. They can bring armed, the militia then, with pitchforks, baseball bats, rocks, guns, mean dogs, whatever the heck,
Didn't know that it meant you.
Yeah. Well, now they're talking about this is what a committee of safety can do. They can go push to shove, and I'm thinking there, holy shit! I don't want bloodshed in my county. I think that people should be able to figure out if there's a problem, identify the problem, figure out what it's going to take to fix it, and then fix the problem. And you shouldn't have to have a whole bunch of violence. Somebody's talking. I think maybe it finally shut the light off. It might have overheated or something.
I'll just shut it down.
So anyway, that's what I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about. And Ryan Bundy, he got up and he talked. He had his portion. Ryan Payne got up. He had his portion. Ryan Payne is an incredibly intelligent man also. Very well educated. Ryan Payne's up there and he's got his pistol on there. Open carry, the Second Amendment right. That freaks a lot of people out. A although it's your right. I mean, big deal.
It's the West.
Yeah, big
It's
deal.
the West.
I moved to Harney County in 1978, and every pickup in the high school parking lot had 2 or 3 rifles in it, and they weren't even locked. Well, now, it's big bad trouble if you get, if a gun's on high school property, Anyway, instead of diverging from that, Ammon talked about that, and then he talked about the deal that we just talked about, that the BLM, or the Forest Service, the federal government, they can't legally buy land other than 10 square miles for forts and magazines and stuff like that. And what have they been doing? They've been running ranchers out of business. Back in Clark County, there were 30 some odd ranchers. Cliven Bundy was the last one alive, the last one to have a ranch. And they said he made a stand. And I always kind of wondered, why did they show up with a militia and everybody had guns, and then the federal government left? And I thought, well, the federal government has got all the billions of dollars and all the war equipment and everything. Why did they leave the Bundy Ranch? Because they were wrong. And they knew it. But the BLM is still doing those things. They're still taking lands. They're still over here in Milwaukee. They're trying to do a whole bunch. The refuge out here, the refuge in Harney County, it started out as a refuge. Franklin Roosevelt started out, and then there were a lot of ranches around there that all of a sudden, after John Sharp got done managing it, when John Sharp was there, he managed the refuge. They had cattle on it. They grazed it. They had birds up the kazoo. It was a wonderful paying operation, basically, and it worked. Well, when he died, then they got other refuge managers in there, and they quit maintaining it. They got the cattle off of there, cattle free in '83, and all of that kind of stuff. They started working on the ranchers, and the next thing you know, the ranchers were going out of business, and it was being absorbed into the refuge. Well, illegally. They can't buy that. Not without approval of the legislators, and only for the docks and magazines and stuff like that. We're talking about, okay, so this overreach is going on here in Harney County also. Down in the Red River, it's, the mines all over the place. They're doing all kinds of stuff. And after they talked about that for a while, Ammon was talking to the crowd, and he said, "Are you guys happy with what the federal government is doing here? Nice show of hands." Well, nobody wiggled. How many people think the federal government is overstepping their bounds? Every hand went up. How many people in here think that maybe you could do something about it? Or you should do something about it, and everybody raised their hands. He says, well, you know what? All you have to do is form your own committee of safety. Well, how do you do that? Well, you take a vote of the people. Well, how many, do you have to have a quorum? No. Whoever's at the meeting. And so we had like 60, 70 people there. How many people think would like to start a committee of safety? Somebody said, I move we start a committee of safety. And somebody else said, I second it. Oh, okay. All in favor? Everybody in the room raised their hands. Okay, we will now form a committee of safety. Okay, and I'm sitting there going, holy shit, what's going on in here? And he said, now what we need is we would open it up for nominations. Basically conducting the meeting with Robert's Rules of Order, so that you can conduct your meeting in a proper form. And they started getting nominations. And the first guy nominated, I looked at him and thought, sucker, I was the second one. I was the second one to get nominated. And I thought about it, and I thought, okay, they want me to be on the Committee of Safety, and the Committee of Safety has the authority to call in the militia, and it could, you know, there could be lives at stake here. Yeah, I'll be on the committee, because I don't want to see any lives lost. I don't want to see any violence. I don't want people to start shooting each other. That's all I knew about it. That's the only reason I stayed on the Committee of Safety to start out with. I didn't have a clue what a Committee of Safety was. The other people that got nominated didn't either. There were 7 of us. So we went, and we didn't even know who the hell we were. We didn't even, you know, a couple of us knew each other, but most of us didn't even know each other. Didn't know our names or nothing. So it's like, wow. Okay, now we have a Committee of Safety. What the hell are we going to do? We should have a meeting, you know. And so we got together we got to have a chairperson or a spokesperson or something. So we had a private meeting, and the first night that we had our meeting, the first man that was nominated gave us about a 45-minute spiel on why his brother would be the best sheriff. And we're saying, well, that's not why we're here. And then he bowed out and said that he didn't want to have anything to do with it because it might cause him some financial problems or maybe some problems within his church. Okay, so now we have 6. Okay, well, what do we need to do? We get a chairperson, Tim Smith. All right, if we're supposed to be the voice of the people, we can't. I'm not the voice of the people. I can't be the voice of the people because I don't know what the people want. So what do we need to do? We need to do a public meeting. Let's get a public meeting and find out what the people want. Okay? So right off the bat, we're going to have a meeting to see what the public want. And so we're kind of figuring that out. Then they had a rally. And it was a good rally, it really was. I'd never been to a rally in Burns, you know, or a rally anywhere. I thought maybe it was radicals doing stupid stuff, you know, and I'd heard that they were going to hand out rolls of pennies and they were going to throw coins on the sidewalk at the sheriff's office because he'd sold them out. Because the sheriff could have put a stop to a lot of what had gone on, but he didn't. So he said, well, we're the new Committee of Safety and we need to be visible so that the public will know who we are so that we can talk with them, communicate with them. So we had some signs that said, free the Hammonds. We made up our mind that we're not going to scream insults at anybody. We're not going to get violent with anybody. We're not going to throw coins. That's disrespectful. We will walk in that march, and we did. We walked in that. They stopped and shouted and yelled at the sheriff's office, which meant nothing because there was nobody out front to meet them. We went on up to Susie Hammond's house, and Susie and Dwight were out there, and we sang songs to them. We gave them roses. They talked to us. It was a good feeling. They saw the compassion from the people in the march towards them and their love and their support so that they weren't quite so alone. Then we walked on down the street and they said, well, cool, that was cool. We get back down to Safeway parking lot and Hammond says, well, we're going to go make a hard stand. There's going to be a meeting out at the fairgrounds for everybody, but we're gonna go make a hard stand, and I didn't have a clue what the hell a hard stand was. So they got in their vehicles and they left, and they went out to the refuge. The refuge was completely unlocked, no doors were locked, the keys were all laying there. They didn't break into that building, they didn't kick any doors down, they didn't tear anything up, they just occupied the building. Well, that just really upset everybody, and right off the bat, the Committee of Safety has just been demonized. Because the Committee of Safety was formed with the help of Ammon Bundy, and then he went out there and took over the refuge with armed protesters. So immediately the people in the community decided that the Committee of Safety people were a bunch of radicals. And so we think, well, we should stay, we should go, what should we do? So we had a meeting, we said, well, the points are legitimate. There are things that need to be corrected. And if there is a way to go about doing it, then we should stand tall and continue forward. Let's do this. Okay? All right, so the first thing we got to do is we're going to have ourselves a public meeting and get the public in here so that we can find out what they want. You know, because I don't want to be representing the people when I'm the only person in Harney County that feels this way. I want to, you know, if you're going to represent people, you should be able to represent their feelings accurately and fairly. So, well, let's have a meeting. And so went down and we booked the Elks. Had the Elks meeting. The Elks was where we're going to have a meeting, a public meeting. Okay, so we all got our little group together and we were having an executive meeting. Does everybody know what an executive meeting is? That's not privy to the public. The information's not supposed to go out to the public. It's just an informational thing. It's a planning section or session. We're having our meeting and Judge Steve Grasty, he shows up unannounced at our meeting out at Tim's office, Tim Smith's office. Says, hey, do you guys mind if I sit in on your meeting? And Tim says, well, this is an executive session. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do on our first public meeting. And it's really not open to the public, but we're not doing anything wrong. You're welcome to sit in. But you need to know that none of this information leaves this room. Oh, I know all about public meetings. I know all about that. I know all about the rules and the regulations. Okay. So we're sitting there and we're trying to figure out now who's going to do what. We're all going to have a segment that we're going to talk to the public about. Different categories. What are we going to talk about? You know, let's talk about the Hammonds. Let's talk about the refuge. Let's talk about the BLM, the Forest Service. You know, road closures. Lots of issues. We got a lot of problems we're going to have to work on. So let's kind of categorize it up, and we'll each have a segment to do that. And Steve said, well, let me tell you that I think the county ought to be involved in this, and we will give you all the legal counsel that you need, and we will do this, but we need to be involved in this. And we said, this is just kind of what we're doing. You know, we're doing this, and we appreciate that. And then Tim gets a text and he went, shit. What? It says we can't use the Elks. We can't have the Elks. What are we going to do? Melody Molt jumps up and says, well, let me go make a phone call. She goes in the other room. She comes back. We'll still have a meeting. I called and we've got the senior center. We can get a couple hundred people in there. Senior center, the Harney County Senior Center. We've got the senior center. We can have a meeting. Okay. Well, who's going to do what? What kind of audio-visual equipment? Flip charts, dry erase, whatever, microphone. Get all the logistics done. Steve says, well, I'm about done here. I'll see you guys. Before we can even get it on Facebook, we get a call we can't have a meeting. Absolutely not. There's not going to be any meeting having anything to do with Ammon Bundy or the Committee of Safety in any county building. What the hell? We didn't do anything wrong, but all of a sudden, before we could even announce on Facebook, Steve Grasty, taking his information, raised hell, called since he's the county judge, called the senior center and said, you're not renting the building to them. So it's like, okay, now what the heck are we supposed to do? We're the Committee of Safety, we're associated with Ammon Bundy, and we can't have a public meeting. So how are we supposed to represent the people? How are we supposed to do that? So then Grasty has a meeting at the fairgrounds, the all-purpose building. We've been told we could have no meetings having anything to do with Ammon Bundy or the refuge or any of that stuff. Okay? So Grasty has a meeting at the fairgrounds with all kinds of news media there and bunches of cops, and that's the only thing they talked about. You know, the fact they weren't going to have any meetings having to do with any of those occupiers, except if he put it on. And so we did have an opportunity. It was a public meeting, and so the public has a right to speak. And he said that, you know, the microphone will be available for 2 minutes apiece or something like that for speakers. And it was standing room only because they'd occupied the refuge. So everybody's freaked out. All the news media is in there. I mean, one entire, probably twice the length of this room, solid news media. Standing room only. People standing outside even with the big garage door open. Tim Smith, our spokesperson, he managed to get some time and he worked his way over there and he was waiting to be talking and I'm wandering through the crowd finding the rest of our safety committee of safety, saying, Tim's up there. By God, I'm going to go stand with Tim. You know, he's not by himself. I'm on this committee. And I went and I stood next to him. And then pretty soon, the rest of them all showed up. All 6 of us showed up. Watch this. All 6 of us showed up and stood next to him, shoulder to shoulder, and he got the mic and he said, I'm Tim Smith. I'm with the Harney County Committee of Safety. We just got started. We are just a fledgling group. We have been boycotted. We have been blackballed within our community. We've been trying to get a public meeting to find out what the public feels about these situations, about the BLM overreach. But we've been told by the county we can't have any meetings. We can't have a public meeting just like you're having here. And it's basically about all he said. And we got done and we left, and the next morning, Tim gets a call from Steve Grasty. My bad. I should have never done that. He says, you guys can have a meeting at the senior center. Okay. So then we had our first public meeting. And it was standing room only. There wasn't a police officer there. We each talked about our subjects, whether it was local law enforcement or the BLM overreach or the Hammonds or what we were going to do or constitutional or whatever. We had that meeting. Very successful meeting. Very successful meeting. We went away and thought, my God, we're on our way now. And a lot of the public had spoke out, and a lot of them had said, you know, they're radical people out there, you know. And I said, no, they're not. They're not. They're true and sincere people, and they're here, you know, to help us. And we started winning people over right off the bat. Well, okay, that's all fine and dandy. Then we start going out to the refuge. As the Committee of Safety, we went out there several times, and we met with Ammon and said, okay, now, what do we need to do? You know about this committee of safety, and we don't. And Ryan Payne would talk to us and everything. We found out such neat things. Do you have any idea who signed the Declaration of Independence? How many people know that every single signature on the Declaration of Independence was a member of a committee of safety? Every one of them. Paul Revere had his letter that he was to take off with. It was signed by a committee of safety. So this committee of safety is actually something that has some historical teeth to it. It has some merit. So we thought, okay, that's cool. Then we start working on things, and people are all freaked out. The FBI was in town. I ran down the FBI agents and exposed them, by taking their license plate up to the deal. I don't know if you've heard the story or not. A couple of dishonest guys and wannabe toughs. I should have just whooped one of them just for fun. But so then I'm finding out that, by God, there's some time that's been going on by then. When we had our committee of safety, we started talking about, let me back up a little bit. We said, what are we going to do? Okay? We're going to have some subcommittees and stuff like that if we have other people that want to be on. Because when we had our public meeting, there was a bunch of people that wanted to help. Okay, we're going to have meetings and we're going to do this. All right. We had a bunch of different subcommittees. Like, let's have a historical committee. Let's find out the history of the overreaches out by the refuge, where they started absorbing these other ranches. Let's find out what was the procedures that were followed that were not constitutional, not legally done. Let's talk about the road closures up on the Forest Service and how that impacts us. Let's have people to do some research on these things. Let's see, if we don't have a constitutional sheriff and this is an election year and we need all new county commissioners and a new county judge and everything, let's have a vetting committee. So we have a vetting committee, and we have organized meetings. Well, tonight's a candidate meeting. Last night was also. We're having the candidate meetings so that they can come out and talk to the public, not just in Burns, but we had one in Riley last night, Druzy, down Fields, so that the people in the county can see who they have to vote for. We need to get the people involved in what the heck's going on. And let's talk to them about the Constitution. I had a big old box of Constitutions, and I was handing them out everywhere I went. Unless you know anything about the Constitution, you can't really talk about it a whole lot. When I talk to you about the Second Amendment, or, you can't buy any land if you're government. If you go to the Constitution and look at it, then you can see. So a lot of it's education. So the Committee of Safety was educating people, trying to figure out how they could do that. Working with Ammon, trying to learn more and more on what to do, doing our own research. We don't have a radio station in Harney County right now. It got screwed up and it's defunct right now. Hopefully it'll get resurrected. So the only way that we had for communicating with people was either word of mouth, telephone, or Facebook. We don't have a TV station. So the only way we could communicate was Facebook and telephone and word of mouth. So we started posting on Facebook. Ammon got us a website. He set it up himself for the Harney County Committee of Safety. He designed it himself. He paid for it himself. He paid for our emails for the first 2 years for each one of the 6 of us that was still on the committee. So we had our specific email to the Committee of Safety website. Then he told us what the password was so that we could maintain It was ours. He gave it to us. He wasn't gonna run it, and we just in the background. He said, here, it's yours. He had some things posted on there. We decided, that's a little bit radical, you know, his letter to Sheriff Ward and stuff. We didn't really even know what the heck was going on yet. And so we didn't feel as radical or as upset as maybe we do now. And so we removed the things that we thought could be construed as offensive to anybody. We looked at it and it had the Harney County logo on it and stuff. It's like, that's kind of poor taste because we're not Harney County government. Let's take that off and put a couple different pictures on there. There was one gal that Ammon had put a picture on there, and she had actually copyrighted her picture, and she was offended because she sells her pictures, and she didn't think that was very good. Well, we took that off. We don't want to offend anybody. We want to have anybody, you know, we put our own pictures and stuff up on there. Front of our website said the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And that's where we were starting with the first step. We didn't know which way we were even going or even how to walk yet. We were just taking the first step. So we're working on that. We're working on these other committees. We're working with Ammon. There's all kinds of rumors going around about these horrible militia people, horrible patriots and all of that. We're getting storms. The snow is coming down big time. For nowadays weather, we got more snow than normal. When I first moved there, we'd get 3 feet, you know, but not now. If you get a foot, that's a pretty good sized storm for Burns. And things get slick, they get icy. You know what the militia people were doing? You know what the Oath Keepers and the 3%ers were doing?
Shoveling snow.
Those horrible sons of bitches were out there shoveling fire hydrants. In the snow.
I saw pictures.
So here's these horrible people, these bad people, shoveling out fire hydrants. What else, what other kind of shenanigans were they up to?
Yeah, no, scary people, weren't they?
They were scary people. You know what they were doing? You won't believe it.
I probably.
They were actually going to McDonald's and getting breakfast sandwiches and taking them to the armed guards at the courthouse
Ready coffee, yep.
and the airport, the FBI.
Terrible human beings.
These bad guys were going out there, and here's these guys with automatic weapons and all of their stuff standing out there freezing their butts off, protecting what from what. The guys out there at the refuge were coming and going back and forth to town. Anybody that wanted to could go into the refuge and talk with them. They were cleaning the place up. It was a mess when they got there, but they were cleaning it up. They were vacuuming floors. They were hauling trash out. They were putting out rat poison because there was rat shit all over the place.
Rat urine.
Just a mess. Just a mess. The place had been in disrepair and disrespected. People that, it's not my place. I mean, that was the feeling you got. There's people working here that don't think that it don't belong to them, so they don't care. It's not their house. These guys will clean it up, making it better. We're going back and forth and having meetings and all of that. Fielding all of these rumors about these horrible militia people, finding out that they were the black SUVs that were all over the place were FBI. They were plants. Snipers up on the junior high. Chain link fence, concrete across city streets. That's where the armed standoff was. That's where the armed standoff was. There was no armed standoff at the refuge. Absolutely not. Those people had weapons, and not a damn one of them would have shot 30 miles and hurt anybody in town. They shut down the schools. They shut down the BLM offices. They shut down the Forest Service. They shut down the BLM horse corrals. Everybody was scared to death of something, but it shouldn't have been the people at the refuge. They weren't threatening anybody. They weren't hurting anybody. They weren't trying
They never
to.
did.
They're not trying to intimidate anybody. whenever I went out there, I just felt love and compassion. That's all I felt from those people, you know, and sincereness. They had people working on their own laptops, doing research and stuff. What they were trying to do is get enough evidence to get the Hammonds out of prison. That's what those horrible people were doing.
Yep. To show they were targeted and that they were.
Yeah, that it was wrong. So we as a committee of safety, we see that more and more and more, and we're trying to keep working up and working up and working up. We still got all these problems in town, and so we said, all right, we've been, and I told them, and right off the bat, you know, after they went out and took that, the first time I went out there, I said, damn, you know, you set up a committee of safety, and the first thing you did is you demonized us. You discredited us. You stabbed us in the back. We didn't know anything about you doing that, and we're catching the flack for it. Everybody in town saying that committee of safety just took over their refuge. You know, and we didn't do that. And so we're still trying to stand strong, stand straight, and move forward. Don't lose your focus, keep going. And so we're still having our meetings, and we're meeting with Ammon. And then Grasty has his little meeting at the high school. Right after Ammon, you know, to shorten it up a little bit, we had got to the point to where, all right, we understand the issues. We understand the Constitution a whole lot better. We can still learn a lot of things. He gave us tools like, oh yeah, you're going to watch
right
this.
there.
Yeah, you watch this.
Under the eraser.
No.
Under the eraser.
Well, these are.
Those are fluorescent.
They're fluorescent.
Well, I know. Well, I'm like, those are pretty colored.
I think they're permanent.
No, they're dry erase.
No.
Oh, they're not.
They're hard to see.
Oh, okay.
We said, how the hell do we find out about committee of safety? He says, go to committee.org. I don't know if I got that spelled right or not. I'm going to try to misspell things to make you feel better.
Oh, thank you.
Anyway, committee.org. So we're starting to get some information about committees of safety. That's an amazing site. Have you ever been there? Have you ever looked at it? Look at committee.org. They have purchased some of the books that the federal government has purged from our systems. They have some books that are worth $12,000, $13,000 a piece. On committee.org, there are photocopies of pages out of those books, historical evidence that is just not found. There's bunches and bunches and bunches of information at committee.org. That helped us a tremendous amount, because there hadn't been a whole lot of other committees of safety formed in the United States since way back when. So we didn't know what we were doing, but we're learning. And we start learning this stuff, and then Ammon says, okay, all right. Because I went out and I said, Ammon, I hear all of these rumors that you guys are in danger, you know. They've got more and more FBI coming into town. There's all of these military assault vehicles, convoys of the suckers, Black Hawk helicopters sitting out at our airport. What the hell do we need? We don't need that. What they're going to do is they're going to go in and just wipe them all out. That's the feeling, that's the rumors, that's what was talking. Some of the local law enforcement people are just freaking out, running around, just, oh God, somebody followed my son, you know. I know it was the
militia.
I know it was a militia because you could see the 3%er sticker in their back window and on their tailgate. I don't know how the hell you see that stuff if somebody's following you, how you can see the back of their vehicle, but I guess you can somehow. But so things were getting kind of hot, getting kind of crazy. lots of tension, lots of hatred running around town. People forming their ideas and their opinions by the slanted stuff that they were seeing on the TV, which I'll guarantee you was very, very rarely ever accurate.
Almost never.
You know, when it was just things were building up. I mean, the balloon was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's about to pop, you know. And I'm thinking, this Ammon Bundy guy, this Ryan Bundy guy, this Ryan Payne guy, these other guys, Lavoy Finicum, my God, what wonderful people. When you shake someone's hand and look them in the eye, if you're worth a damn for anything, you got a pretty good idea about that person right off the bat. If you've paid attention to people in your life, these were good people. Good people. And it looks like they're going to wipe them off the map. That'd be a horrible, 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 horrible waste of humanity. And I got pretty close to Ammon Bundy. I confided in him a lot. He confided in me. He would call me. He would call me a lot. And we talked. And I went out and I sat down with him and I said, Ammon, what you've done, he gave us a redress of grievances. He wanted us to take that up there and force it down their throats. By God, get it going. But our committee of safety have some people on there. I'm not signing anything. I'm not ever signing anything on this redress of grievances. I'll be on the committee and we're going to do this, and I agree we need to do something, but I'm not signing anything. So we couldn't take that redress of grievances in, signed by all of our members, and say, here, Sheriff, we got to do this. We're trying to get our people together, trying to get our people on the same page. But what had happened is that the national media had got a hold of it, and there were people learning what was going on. I didn't appreciate Ammon Bundy going to the refuge. I would never have done that. I'm a big, strong guy, and I don't have a reverse, but my cojones aren't that big. I wouldn't have ever went out there. It took a hell of a conviction for those, and commitment for those people to do what they did, and they didn't hurt a thing. But I'm starting to fear for their lives. And I sat down with Ammon, I said, Ammon, you've proved your point. I said, do you realize that I got an email from a guy in China that used to live here that saw us? You've brought this to worldwide attention. You've brought it to worldwide attention. You've opened our eyes. We now know that there's something serious to be done. We are committed. We are standing strong. We're going to go forwards. Give us the ball. Go home. Go home to your family. Go home and remain a resource. They're going to wipe you out like a bug. And we need you in this world. So go home. Please, go home. We had that conversation quite a lot. Because the people in town were getting more and more pissed. You know, the ranchers, on the other hand, they would talk to me because I've been vocal. I've been in the public. I've been always honest. If you don't want me to answer the question, don't ask it, because I'll tell you my feeling. If you don't want to know, then I'm not going to hedge around it. I had some ranchers call me up. Chris, what the hell is wrong with them people? And I said, well, why don't you go out and talk to them and ask them? Go out and shake their hand, look them in the eye, sit down and talk to them. Make up your own mind. Don't use my mind. Use your own mind. Go see what you think. So a couple of them said, well, by God, I'll try it. I ain't afraid. Went out there, God, those people are here to help us. Those are neat people. then more and more ranchers were going in there, going in and out, in and out, in and out, taking supplies to them, bringing them a pig for a barbecue, bringing them a half a beef. You know, that's some horrible people.
Yeah.
You know, and that's that armed standoff. People coming and going, and improving the place. You know, the guy with Hellboy was out there, shoveled out the stables that hadn't been done forever, getting rid of all the dead pack rats and stuff that the guys had evidently that worked at the refuge to go out on their lunch hour and shoot pack rats, cleaning up the carcasses, doing stuff. They're not hurting nothing.
They did not hurt anything.
No, they didn't hurt anything.
They didn't hurt anyone.
No, none at all. So anyway, we're doing these things, and I talked to Ammon, and he finally said, you know what? I am tired. I do miss my family, and I would like to have a public meeting, if you can set it up, to set us up a public meeting so that I can outline my exit strategy. I don't know what it was because he never had a chance. I don't know if that was that he wanted us to occupy the refuge and so he could go home or what, but he wanted to feel confident that we would carry the ball forward. And he didn't feel good about us to begin with because we didn't just do whatever he said. We said, you know, oh, I'm not signing anything, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. He finally had some confidence that, by God, maybe we would carry forward. And he said, I want to outline my exit strategy. And I said, okay, when do you want to do that? And this was on a Sunday. And he said, how about next Friday? I said, okay. I got on the phone. I called the fairgrounds. Jesse, what's it take to get the all-purpose building? Who is this? It's Chris Briels. Oh, you're the guy that got rid of all the yellow jackets last year during the fair. Yeah, I was doing night watch out there for a fundraiser. And they had, their steps were completely inundated with yellow jackets right at the fair office. And so they've been stinging everybody. So I'm out there at midnight and I get cans of brake fluid and I get my impact screwdriver and I disassembled the stairs and killed all the yellow jackets and became a huge hero, you know. Anyway, he says, yeah, you got it. I got the calendar. I'll write your name on it. What's it cost? $100. Okay. You want me to bring it to you tonight? No. Bring it a half hour before the meeting starts on Friday. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Well, right about then is when I had accosted the FBI guys and found out what was truly going on. Drasty has a meeting at the high school, and he gets out there with his little microphone parading around like a peacock and says, I want you guys to know that this Harney County Committee of Safety has absolutely nothing to do with Harney County government.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely nothing. I want you people to know. And they've got our logo on their website without our permission. They are not a member of Harney County government. Okay. Both sides of the bleachers were completely full. They would pass the mic around, you know, and I'm sitting up there and I'm still mad about the FBI guys. The microphone came along and Melody says, you should talk. That's dangerous. You don't want me talking, you know. So I'd been told to keep that a secret about the FBI, and I did until I got a microphone in my hand in front of national news media. And that's when I told them, this is what happened, and this is what I did today, and this is what I found out. FBI, and I'm supposed to keep that a secret, people? People coming around and scaring people in our community, and we're supposed to keep that a secret? No. So Grasty argued with me after that. I went outside. Sheriff's deputies came up and from Lane County, says, what about the FBI thing? And I told him, and he says, damn, we've told them and told them and told them to knock that crap off. And he said, I'm going to talk to him again. Well, that just verified what I had found out. You know, it wasn't some strange one-time occurrence. They'd already been talked to about it. Well, the next morning I get a call from Steve Grasty, and he says, I want to talk to you. Okay, I go up there. He starts it out. He says, I want you to know we've been friends a long time. And if that ever comes to an end, it's going to be you doing that, not me. And I thought, that's a weird way to start out a meeting. And I had to go through security, armed guards all over the dang place. I had to go through the airport security kind of thing, and they found my artificial shoulder, and they found the hardware in my back where it's been fused. And they took all my stuff, my belt, my pocket knife, all of that. I went in there, and Grasty's sitting on one side of his desk. It's about this thick and about 12 foot long, and there's chairs around it. He sits on that side, and the subservient people are on this side. And he sits down, and he said, first of all, you got to get away from that committee of safety. Your life's in danger. Because I don't see why my life would be in danger. I haven't done anything wrong. And I said, you know, you said last night $80,000, $90,000 a day for security. For what? It's wrong. That's a wrong thing. And we've got streets that need repairs. We've got schools that could have something. And you're wasting this money, taking all these law enforcement people away from their communities where they could be protecting their own people in their own communities. It's wrong. You got people running around scaring people. That's wrong. It's not right. It's not even almost right. It's wrong. I said, what the hell? He says, your perception is so far off, you don't know what you're doing. You need to let us handle this. You're in way over your head. And I said,
These are
Steve.
the big people, not the little people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, Steve.
Terrible.
I said, Steve, look at me. I mean, look at me. I'm not Charles Atlas, but I'm a force to contend with. I said, look at me. What would have happened if I'd have smacked one of them FBI guys? I'd either be shot dead or in jail. And that's ridiculous. Whoa, 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 whoa. Your perception is all wrong. You may have been dangerous at one time in your life, but you got nothing now. You couldn't hurt a flea. You've got nothing. And I thought, there's two cops here, there's one there, there's one over there. I seen his toe come around the door. I'm thinking, he's never had guts enough to talk to me like that. I know what happened. I spoke in front of national TV, and people listened, and he's got a bunch of flack over it already. And he wants me out of the equation right now. He wants me to swat him or do something stupid so they can throw me in jail. This is a trap. This is a trap. I could feel it. And so I sat there, and he said, he kept up with the insults. You're just an old man. You're just an old man. You need to go home and just be an old man. Sit in your chair at home and stay there and let us take care of this kind of stuff. And I said, I don't think so. I don't think so. And he says, you talk about scaring the people. He says, you have no right to follow anybody in this town. You have no right to ask anybody any questions anywhere in this town. And it's none of your damn business what goes on at the armory. And I'm thinking, man, he's really pushing. He's really pushing. And so I sat there for a little bit, and I said, you got a piece of paper? Yeah. He tears me off about that much off a yellow tablet. And I wrote down the date. I, Chris Allen Briels, do hereby resign my position as Harney County Fire Chief, and I signed it. And then I stood up, and he's waiting for me to reach over and grab him, except that his desk is that thick. He know I can't reach him. So he's pretty safe. Little squeak that he is. And I said, well, Steve, my perception was wrong, but now it's perfectly clear. I can understand exactly what's going on. And you, sir, have shown your true colors. Have a good day. And out the door I walked. And I went outside after I talked to the security guys some more. And I walked outside and I got on the phone and I called Ammon and I said, Ammon, we can't have that meeting. And he said, are you kidding me? Why? I said, Grasty says we can't. Oh, and during that conversation, he says, you're not going to have the fairgrounds. You're not having a public meeting. You will never have another meeting in Harney County. Not any county buildings. And I said, why is that? You're taking my First Amendment away from me? He says, no, I'm not taking your First Amendment away from you. You can meet out in one of them snow-covered fields if you want to. You can still have a meeting as long as it's not in any county building. He kind of chuckled. Yeah, big shot. Anyway, I told Ammon, I said, we can't have a meeting. He says, I got a press conference. There's people here. The news media is here. They're on the hill up there by the refuge. And he says, oh my God. He says, it'd be better coming from you. Would you come out and tell them? Yeah, I'll do that. So I jumped in my rig and I drove the 3 miles, whatever it is out there. And that's when, if you've seen the video of when I raised hell and told them that I'd quit and everything. And so then, okay, now we've still got a committee of safety and we're still being barred where we can't have meetings. So what are we going to do? You know, what are we going to do? We're going to stay on track. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. We're going to get this done. So we started talking about, by then we had our mission statement. If you're going to have a committee, you need to have a mission statement. You need to have some bylaws, a way that you conduct your meetings. You know, you should conduct your meetings with Robert's Rules of Order. We started thinking, all right, how are we going to educate people? We have Facebook, that's it. Well, after I squawked at the high school and out there at the refuge, then I started getting calls from radio stations. Would you do an interview? They thought it was a pretty big deal that I quit my job because I just pissed off. I did not want to work for that man. And when I spoke out there, I said, any rancher needs any help, I'll come help him. But I won't work for Steve Grasty. And I won't call him judge anymore. He deserves no respect. And so, what are we going to do? We're carry forward. We've got Facebook. That's it. Well, then I start getting calls from radio stations. And I'm thinking, I don't want to be involved in that. And then I thought, well, it's a way of getting the message out. I can get out there and I can talk to people. So if you're going to have a committee of safety, you have to have a way to communicate with the people. If you don't have a TV station, you don't have a radio station, how are you supposed to do that? You can have a rally or something like that. Talk to people verbally. Wait till summer and have a meeting out in a field somewhere or in a barn. We even talked about having a meeting in a barn, you know, great big barn, roping arena or something like that. They're not going to stop us. If we have to have a meeting in something like that, then we will. You know, it'll be bring your own chair and a big coat. But we're going to keep going, you know. So we found out that we could have a meeting at Glory Days Pizza. You can get about 35, 40 people in there. And we've had speakers come in. We thought, well, we've got to get education. Part of this is we didn't know what was going on. How can the public know what to feel if they don't know what's going on? So we had Gardner come in and talk about the Constitution. They had Chris Ann Hall come in and talk about the Constitution. We had the self-governance people come in. They've done 2 sections of their 3-section deal now. We've had quite a few people come in, and there's been meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. I'm here to tell you If you want it, if you want a committee of safety, it's a very, very valuable thing, but it's a commitment. It's not like being on the school board or something, like when you have a meeting every month or 2 months or whatever. I don't know. It's a commitment. If you don't have people that are serious about what's going on, you don't want them on your committee. If you don't have people with enough hair to stand up and stand strong for something that's going to be a detriment to your committee. So make sure that you get strong people on your committee. How many should you have? You could have 3, you could have 5, you could have 7, you could have 11, or you could have 12, so that you kind of coincided with the Magna Carta. I think that's what they suggested, isn't it? Do your research. Do your research. Get your education. Do your research. I can't stress that enough. Do your research. Get as much help as you can. But I'll tell you something. As soon as you do that, everybody in the world has the best idea, and everybody else's idea is no good. Somebody will call you up and say, hey, don't listen to Judge Darby. He don't know what the hell he's doing. Then the next one say, oh yeah, he's the guy. Don't listen to them. You know, National Liberty Alliance, do this, do that, do that, you know. You got to pick your battles, and you got to research your people and find out where the results have been coming from and how to go about doing it. It's a serious position, it's important, and it is worth doing right. So I started reaching a bunch of people through the radio shows, and so I'm thinking that makes more awareness. I had typed my name, Chris Briels, into Facebook, and I came up with somebody else that had the exact same name. Did you ever hear anybody named Briels? I mean, if you want to make money, get a grant to research and study the Briels endangered species, because there ain't many of us left. It's probably good for the earth. But this guy lives in Holland. He lives in Holland. And I'm thinking, wow. And so we've chatted back and forth on Facebook, and he's talking about all the refugees that are coming into Holland from what they got going on over there. Totally different world going on there than here. He doesn't talk much English. If he does, he doesn't write much very good. But we communicate. He had a Facebook alert for his birthday. And I happened to see that he was on the chat line. So I said, well, happy birthday to the other you or the other me or whoever we are or you are or whatever. How old are you now? And he said, 55. I said, okay, well, that's cool. Happy birthday. And, you know, I'd been getting a lot of flack for being on the Facebook and the Committee of Safety, and people trying to smear you all over the place. And I asked him, I said, has anybody confused you for me? Have you been harassed? And he said, what is harassed? And so I had to kind of explain to him what harassed is. And he says, no, but he says, I heard you. And I said, what? He says, I heard you. You watch on the radio. WASH. You watch on the radio. So here's some guy that has the exact same name as me that I've never even met, who lives in Holland, has heard my voice. To me, that let me know that you could get your message out there if you just figure out how. You can reach people. I reached a guy in Holland. I reached a guy in China. He sent me an email and said, Chris, I just saw you on TV in China. What the hell's going on? You know, so it's awareness. There's a lot of people that are really aware of what's going on. So a Committee of Safety being formed now, it's the right time because people are aware of the problems. People are aware of what's going on. It's going to be easier for somebody else than it was for us. Hopefully you guys don't have a refuge around here, do you? Oh, good.
I think we're clear.
Yeah, you're all right?
Yeah, so.
But there is a spot 70 miles at the Ranger Station.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
just gonna
not
say,
at a
we've
Ranger.
got a Ranger station,
Right.
there it is.
Right. One of the things that we have done, you got to get your message out there. Your vetting committee is very, very important. If you're if you don't have a constitutional sheriff, you probably need one. That's going to help you. It's not going to hurt you. Your commissioners, they need to be on the same board. You know, they need to believe in the Constitution. Any of the voted positions. You know, people should get out there. If you've got concerns, start writing to your legislators, your congressmen. Make your voice heard. That's how we can do things, is by standing together and make ourselves heard. There's a lot of things that you can do, like Judge Darby was talking about. There's a lot of things you can do. The more we stand together and the more we move forward, the more we learn, the more you make mistakes. And a mistake is just a training opportunity. It's a learning opportunity. You know, and we're learning. You know, we're greenhorns at this. We don't know what we're doing. But there's a saying, as long as you're green, you grow. And once you're ripe, you rot. That is so profound. Never forget that. As long as you're green, you grow. Once you're ripe, you rot. My mom's 85 years old. She does cryptograms and crossword puzzles and watches the game shows and reads the labels on everything and eats every new item that she's never seen before. Keeps her mind sharp. As soon as you just sit in your chair and stare forward and think you know it all, you're starting to rot. So keep learning. Keep green. Keep learning. And you can learn by mistakes. That's not a bad thing. Doesn't mean you're a bad person unless you keep doing the same damn thing over and over. That's bad. So we've got, how do we go about doing it? We don't know that we're doing it the right way, but I'll tell you some of the things that we've done. We've used Facebook. We've got our own Facebook pages. We have our own website. The website, when you have a website, you can spend a ton of money on them, or you don't have to spend a ton of money on them. But you want somebody that knows how to do that. A website administrator is not a job for me. It's not something anybody can do. We've got some pretty smart people that are handling our website, and they've been doing a good job. You can put your information up there. People know that you have Harney County Committee of Safety, or now you've got Crook County Committee of Safety. You can have your own website. You can call yourself the Committee of Safety. You can call yourself whatever you want to. But you can get that information. You can take it to your sheriff with a redress of grievances, those kinds of things. You can do those things. You can get the ball to rolling. You want to have strong people. And if you have more people that want to be on your committee than what you have, your executive committee, we've got, I think we got 11 right now. But you don't want it so big you can't manage it. But you can have all these subcommittees going out all over the place, and try not to make them too big, 5 to 7, kind of like the incident command system, to where you can keep track of what's going on, and the head of the committee will come and report to you, and that way people can get on board and do something. It's all volunteer. Nobody gets a nickel out of none of this. I've spent probably $1,500 already on different things. As soon as Grassley says, do not go to the refuge, do not take them supplies, do not. Ha! Guess what I did? I took them 15 dozen eggs and 2 great big deals of gloves and 2 great big deals of glove liners and a monstrous sack of bird seed so they could feed the birds out there while they were there. And they were glad to do it, It's a lot of sacrifice. It's a lot of sacrifice. We have our Committee of Safety meetings once a week. We're having a Glory Days Pizza now is where we're having our meetings, because they've got a big meeting room in the back. And we go there and we buy a meal, which helps them out, and we have our meetings. And we have our committee reports and stuff like that. Our vetting committee has been setting up these candidate nights in different places. Another thing that we've got, you can see right there on my stuff. Hang on just a sec, I'm sorry. This is, take it up here first. This is one of the things that was suggested to us, is to do our own newspaper. The news media is slanted, depends on who you get. The Oregonian is going to get you a little different idea than what we have. And so we decided we would call our little paper the Malheur Redress. Because there's the Malheur Refuge, we've got the Malheur thing going on over there, the Wahi in Malheur County, a lot of stuff going on. So we did this. This is printed on 11 by 17 paper. So you can print it out both sides and then make a book out of it. This particular one is just a very, very rough draft, and I'll pass it around so you can see kind of what we've done. What we decided on our, we've got the Migratory Bird Festival coming up here pretty soon. That's pretty important to people. So you don't want your newspaper to have nothing but horrible bad things that piss everybody off. You want to have a newspaper that people are going to look forward to reading. You might, here's some pictures of birds and talking about some history of the wildlife festival, the waterfall festival. Here's a picture with a whole bunch of shaps. It's a Western theme, it's talking about style and ranches and stuff like that. We're kind of leading into things. Our vetting, here's Rob Frank for County Commissioner. Different things like that. We've got our next issue, our first real complete issue is going to be bios for all the candidates. For all the candidates we've got in Harney County and for governor or whatever, that we can get so that people will realize that it's time to vote. We've been telling everybody, if you're not registered to vote, get registered, because if you're going to get officials in place, we're going to have some help, and if we don't have something to do with getting constitutional sheriffs in there, they won't get there. She's actually got a Sudoku game in there and a word search. This one says ranch life on it, and you can look in there for words like dirt, mud, divot, road, truck, cowboy, cow, cattle, boots, and alfalfa. Something to make it a little, look forward to it, and they can be looking through it, and they'll see something. It's kind of like Safeway. You keep moving stuff all over so that people see more than that they really came in to look for. Anyway, I can pass that around. And like I say, some of the pages are upside down because the day that Katie did this, we were having all kinds of power outages, and some of that's mumbo jumbo words just as filler.
We have,
Hi, Mom.
we have 10 minutes left on that.
Okay. So that's kind of what we went about that. You just, give that, it's the idea, it's the intent to make a newspaper. And we're doing that in a PDF format also, so that anybody with a computer can print it off theirself if they want to. So people in the remote areas of the county that you couldn't drive down and give it to, and that cuts down on the cost. So that's something that helps. YouTube videos, you can do that. The radio shows. If you have a TV, I guess you guys got Bend right close by. I don't know if you've got a TV station here in Prineville. You do?
Well, not in Prineville.
No, but you got something close by. You have to be able to get stuff out. When you're communicating back and forth with your committee of safety, you can do a lot of that with emails. And it's kind of important to get a receipt on that to make sure that your communications get out and people received it. Because sometimes we would send an email out and, well, I didn't get that. Oh. And
Check your junk box.
the FBI was messing with our computers, and our phones. I've had my computer sitting there doing a radio show on Skype, not touching it, and see my mouse start, the cursor just going all around the screen, and different things happening on my computer without me touching it. The technology is out there. I didn't think it was, but it is, and they use it. So you want to make sure that when you're communicating, if you're telling somebody something, you want to know that they're hearing it and that they're getting the information. Some of our other committees have been, like I say, the history, the land issues. You can communicate on your web page. You can get your emails on the web page. You can have dedicated emails on your web page where people can send you messages and get stuff back. Conduct your meetings with the Robert's Rule of Order, all in favor, aye, and all of that. And pay attention to that. Take minutes. Keep track of them. I've got some minutes and agendas and stuff that.
Do you make these public?
Yeah, we put them on our website to where people can go to them and get them, and then we print them out and bring them to our meetings so that other people can go to our stuff and see what we've got going on, just to give you an idea how we conduct our meetings and do things. I don't know, I could go on and on and on. Do you guys have any particular questions or something that I haven't covered? Okay, that's
We don't
fine.
really have time to keep going.
Okay,
We will have questions.
I got a question.
you bet.
Can I access your website?
You bet.
Information.
You bet. Harney County Committee of Safety.